My name is Emily Patterson. I'm 17 years old now, but when this story begins, I was 9. What happened during the winter of 2017 changed my family forever, changed how we see the world, changed what we believe is possible, and it started with me finding something impossible, dying in the snow. We live on a rural property in northern Idaho, 40 acres of land, mostly forest, bordering national forest land. Our nearest neighbor is 4 miles away. It's isolated, quiet, beautiful, the kind of place where you can go days without seeing another person. In January 2017, our family was me, my older brother Luke, who was 14, my mom Karen, and my dad Richard. We'd lived on that property for 6 years. We loved it. The wilderness, the privacy, the connection to nature. I was 9 years old, and I spent every day exploring our land, even in winter, especially in winter. There was something magical about the snow, the frozen creek, the way everything looked clean and untouched. January 18th, 2017. I remember the date because it was the day everything changed. It was cold, below 0. Heavy snow had fallen the night before, maybe 6 inches of fresh powder. I bundled up after breakfast, heavy coat, snow pants, boots, hat, gloves, and told my mom I was going to walk along the creek. Stay on our property, she said, like always, and be back in an hour. I will. I headed out. The creek ran along the eastern edge of our land, about a quarter mile from the house. In winter, parts of it froze, creating these beautiful ice formations. I liked to check on them, see how they changed day to day. I was walking along the creek bank looking at icicles hanging from overhanging rocks when I saw something in the distance. About 100 yards away, near the old shed on our property, a large dark shape on the ground. My first thought was that a tree had fallen, but it was the wrong shape, too compact. Then I thought, bear. We had black bears on the property sometimes, but it was January. Bears should be hibernating. I approached slowly, carefully. My dad had taught me to be cautious around wildlife. Never surprise an animal, never corner it, always leave an escape route. As I got closer, maybe 50 yards away, I realized it definitely wasn't a tree. And I didn't think it was a bear either. The shape was wrong, too human-like. At 30 yards, it moved, shifted position, and I froze. It was massive, easily 8 feet long, lying on its side in the snow, covered in dark, reddish-brown fur, broad shoulders, long arms, and a face that was turned toward me, watching me approach. Not a bear, not a person, something else. I should have been terrified, should have run, but I wasn't scared, because the way it was looking at me wasn't aggressive. It was scared, in pain. Its left leg was bent at an unnatural angle, broken or very badly injured, and it was making sounds, low, pained sounds, almost like whimpering. This creature was hurt and dying in the snow. I stood there for a long moment, maybe 20 feet away, staring at it. It stared back. Its eyes were dark, intelligent, aware, human-like but not human. There was something profound in that gaze, a consciousness. A person looking out at me. "You're hurt," I said out loud. Stupid thing to say, but I didn't know what else to do. The creature made another sound, softer, not aggressive, almost like acknowledgement. I turned and ran back to the house, burst through the door. Dad, you have to come. There's something by the creek. It's hurt." My dad was in the kitchen drinking coffee. "What kind of something? A deer?" "No, I don't know what it is, but it's big and it's hurt and it needs help." "Emily, slow down. What did you see? Just come, please." My dad grabbed his coat and followed me. My mom and Luke came too, curious. We headed toward the creek, toward the old shed. When we got close enough to see it, my dad stopped walking, just stopped dead. "Holy shit," he whispered. "Richard!" My mom hated when he cursed in front of us. "No, Karen, look at that. Really look." We all stood there, maybe 30 feet from the creature, staring. It hadn't moved much, still lying on its side, watching us, panting slightly, its injured leg clearly visible in the snow. "That's not a bear," Luke said. "No," Dad agreed. "It's not." "What is it?" Mom asked. Dad didn't answer immediately. He moved closer slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. The creature watched him but didn't move, didn't try to flee or attack. Dad stopped about 15 feet away, studied it. Then he looked back at us. I think that's a Sasquatch." Luke laughed. Nervous, disbelieving laugh. "Dad, come on, those aren't real." "Look at it, Luke. What else could it be?" We all looked, really looked. The size, the posture, the face, the hands clearly visible, with fingers with opposable thumbs, the feet enormous, partially buried in snow. This wasn't a bear, wasn't a person in a costume, wasn't anything that should exist, but it did exist, and it was lying in our snow, badly injured, probably dying. We should call someone, Mom said. Animal control, the Forest Service? And tell them what? Dad asked. That we found a cryptid on our property? Karen, think about what happens if we call authorities. They come, they see this, and then what? They capture it. Take it somewhere to study? Kill it? It's injured. It might die if we don't. If we call someone, it definitely gets captured or killed. Look at it. That's not just an animal. Look at its eyes. That's intelligence. That's awareness. The creature was watching us have this conversation, following the voices, understanding maybe that we were debating its fate. We have to help it, I said. Please, Dad. We can't just let it die. Emily, honey, we don't know what it is. It could be dangerous. It's not. Look at it. It's scared. It's in pain. It needs help. My dad looked at the creature for a long time. Then he looked at me, at Mom, at Luke. If we do this, he said slowly, we do it quietly. No authorities. No one outside the family can know. Agreed. Richard, this is insane, Mom said. Maybe. But I'm not sending this thing to be dissected in some government lab. Emily's right, it needs help. And we're going to give it. Luke was staring at the creature. It's really real, he whispered. Bigfoot is real, and it's lying in our backyard. We don't call it Bigfoot, Dad said. That's a cartoon, a joke. This is a living being, and we're going to treat it with respect. That night, after we'd gone back to the house and had a very long family discussion about what we were going to do, Dad prepared food. Raw meat from our freezer, we kept beef and venison for ourselves, apples from the root cellar, some bread, vegetables, water in a large plastic container. We're just going to feed it? Mom asked. For now, see if it accepts the food, see if it tolerates our presence. The injury looks bad, that leg might be broken. It's going to take weeks to heal if it heals at all. We'll provide food and water, let it recover, then it'll leave. And if it doesn't leave, we'll deal with that when it happens. Dad loaded everything into a backpack. Luke insisted on coming with him. Emily, you stay here with Mom, Dad said. But I found it. You found it, and you did the right thing by getting us. But I don't know how this thing will react to us getting close. If something goes wrong, I need you safe in the house. I watched from my bedroom window as Dad and Luke approached the shed area. They stayed about 20 feet from the creature. Dad unpacked the food and water, arranged everything carefully in the snow, then backed away. The creature watched the entire time. Didn't move, didn't threaten, just watched. Dad and Luke came back to the house. Now we wait, Dad said. The next morning, I woke up early, ran to my window. The food was gone, all of it. The water container was empty, lying on its side. I ran downstairs. Dad, the food's gone. It ate it. Dad was already up, had been watching too. Good. That's very good. It means it's accepted our help. What now? Now we keep helping, every day until it's strong enough to leave. And that's what we did. For the next 2 months, we fed the creature that shouldn't exist, and it changed everything we thought we knew about the world. The routine started that first night and continued for weeks. Every evening, just before dark, my dad would prepare food. Sometimes Luke would help. Sometimes I would. Raw meat, mostly. We had a chest freezer full of beef and venison from a cow we'd bought and deer my dad had hunted. Fruits, apples, oranges, whatever we had, vegetables, bread, and always fresh water in large containers. Dad would load it into a backpack and walk out to the old shed. He'd place the food about 20 feet from where the creature had positioned itself, then back away. Never approached directly, never tried to touch it, just left the offering and returned to the house. By morning, the food was always gone. For the first week, we only observed from a distance. The creature stayed near the shed, using it for shelter. It had dragged itself inside. We could see the trail in the snow and made a kind of nest with old tarps and hay that had been stored there. My dad set up a motion sensor camera on a tree, positioned to capture activity without being intrusive. We checked the footage each morning. The videos showed the creature emerging after we'd left, moving slowly, painfully, to where the food had been placed. It would eat everything, the meat first, then the fruits, then everything else. It drank all the water, then it would return to the shed, sometimes sitting in the entrance watching the house, sometimes disappearing inside completely. Its injured leg was clearly broken or severely damaged. It couldn't put weight on it. Dragged it when it moved, but it was mobile enough to feed itself, to drink, to survive. Will it heal? I asked my dad one night while we watched the latest footage. I don't know, sweetheart. Broken bones can heal on their own if they're set properly, but we can't exactly take it to a vet. We just have to hope its body knows how to repair itself. What if it doesn't heal? What if it dies? Then we did everything we could. We gave it a chance. That's all we can do. But I didn't want it to die. I checked on it every morning from my window, watched for movement near the shed, made sure the food had been taken. Some mornings I'd see it sitting in the shed entrance and I'd wave. I don't know if it saw me or understood the gesture, but it made me feel connected to it. By the second week, we started noticing something else. Dad went to collect the empty water containers one morning and found something unexpected. 3 large fish, cleaned and prepared, lying in the snow where we'd left the food. Karen, he called back to the house, come look at this. We all came out, stared at the fish. Where did those come from? Mom asked. The creek, I'd guess, Dad said. It's not completely frozen. There are still open areas with moving water. It must have caught these. Why would it leave them here? Luke asked. I think... Dad picked up one of the fish, examined it. I think it's trading. We give it food. It's giving us food in return. That's not animal behavior, Mom said quietly. No, Dad agreed. It's not. Over the next few weeks, more gifts appeared. Always placed carefully where we left the food. Bundles of firewood stacked neatly, small branches and logs perfectly sized for our fireplace. Rabbits already cleaned and prepared, interesting stones arranged in patterns. Once, a large elk antler positioned carefully like it was being displayed. It understands reciprocity, Dad explained to us one evening. We give, so it gives. That's not instinct, that's culture. That's learned behavior passed down through, generations, community. I started leaving additional things with the food. Not just provisions, but objects. I left one of my drawings once, a picture I'd made of the forest. The next morning, it was gone, but in its place was a smooth river stone, perfectly round. I left a small toy one night, a plastic animal figurine. The creature kept it. I'd see it occasionally in the motion sensor footage, holding it, examining it, setting it down carefully near its sleeping area. It was curious, intelligent, aware. By late February, we could see clear progress in its recovery. The creature was putting weight on the injured leg, walking with a limp, but walking. It moved more confidently, explored further from the shed. Our dog, a mixed breed named Bailey, had been curious about the creature from the beginning. The first few days, Bailey would bark when Dad went to leave food, but by week 2, Bailey stopped barking. Would follow Dad to the edge of the property, watch the shed calmly, then return to the house. Our cats were the same. They'd sit in windows facing the shed, watching. No fear, no aggression, just observation. Animals know, Mom said. They can sense when something is dangerous, and they're not afraid of it. Maybe because it's not dangerous, I offered. Or maybe because it doesn't see them as threats, or food. By early March, the creature's behavior started changing. It began approaching closer to the house at night. Not threatening, just observing. I woke up one night, maybe 2 a.m., and looked out my window. The creature was standing at the edge of our backyard, maybe 30 feet from the house, just standing there in the moonlight, watching. I should have been scared, should have screamed for my parents, but I wasn't scared. I just watched it watching us. After maybe 5 minutes, it turned and limped back toward the shed. I told my dad the next morning. I've seen it too, he admitted. A few times, just watching the house. I think it's curious about us. We helped it when it was dying. It doesn't understand why. It wants to figure us out. Is that dangerous? I don't think so. If it wanted to hurt us, it's had plenty of opportunities. It knows we're here alone. It knows we're smaller than it, but it's never been aggressive, never threatening, just observant. Luke started going out with Dad more frequently to leave the food. They'd talk to the creature from a distance. Hey, big guy, brought you dinner. Hope you're feeling better. The creature would watch them, sometimes make soft sounds, not aggressive growls, but vocalizations that almost sounded like responses. It's communicating, Luke said after one of these encounters. I don't know what it's saying, but those sounds have meaning. They're not random. By mid-March, the creature was walking almost normally. The limp was still there, but subtle. It was mobile, strong, clearly healing well. Mom started getting nervous. It's been 2 months. What if it doesn't leave? What if someone sees it? We can't keep this secret forever. It'll leave when it's ready, Dad said. It's wild. It doesn't belong here. Once it's fully healed, it'll go back to wherever it came from. But I didn't want it to leave. I'd gotten attached. This creature, this being, had become part of our routine, part of our family, in a strange way. On March 28th, I left a special gift. I'd spent days making it, a braided cord from colorful yarn with beads woven in. I didn't know if it would mean anything to the creature, but I wanted to give it something personal, something that said, I see you, I care about you. The next morning, the cord was gone, and in its place was something I'll never forget, a perfect bird's nest, completely intact, and inside it, 3 smooth stones arranged in a triangle. Dad, I called, Dad, you have to see this. He came out, looked at the nest, looked at the stones. His eyes got wet. That's art, he whispered. That's intentional creation. Emily, that creature made this for you. It understood your gift was personal, so it gave you something personal back. I kept that nest, still have it. It sits on my shelf, and every time I look at it, I remember. I had a relationship with something impossible, and it cared enough to create something beautiful for me. By early April, the creature was fully mobile, walking without a limp, strong, healthy, ready to leave. We all knew it was coming. The gifts had been building, more elaborate, more frequent, like it was saying goodbye, saying thank you. On April 2nd, we left food as usual. The creature took it, but the next morning there was no reciprocal gift. The space where the offerings appeared was empty. I think it's gone, Dad said. I think last night was goodbye. I felt my heart sink. I'd known it would leave eventually, but knowing and experiencing are different things. Can we check the shed? I asked. We walked out together, me, Dad, Luke, and Mom. The shed was empty. No nest of tarps and hay, no belongings, no sign the creature had ever been there except for compressed earth where it had slept. It was really gone. We walked back to the house in silence. I was crying, not because I was sad exactly. I was happy it had recovered, but I missed it already. The next morning, April 3rd, everything changed again. Dad got up first, like always, went to make coffee. I heard him open the front door. He always checked the porch, grabbed the newspaper. Then I heard him yell, Karen, kids, get down here, now. We all ran downstairs. Dad was standing in the doorway staring at the porch. On our front porch, arranged carefully, were 2 things. A pile of fresh fish, maybe a dozen, all cleaned, all arranged in a neat stack. And next to them, positioned deliberately, a human skull, clean, weathered, ancient, definitely human. Mom gasped, Luke swore, I just stared, and my dad said quietly, It left us a gift, its most valuable gift. For a long moment, none of us moved. We just stood there in the doorway staring at the skull on our porch. It was real, unmistakably human. The bone was yellowed with age, weathered but intact. The jaw was missing, but the rest of the skull was complete. Eye sockets, nasal cavity, the distinctive shape of a human cranium, and it had been placed there deliberately, carefully, next to a pile of fresh fish like an offering. Nobody touch it, Mom said, her voice tight. Richard, we need to call the police. Right now. Wait, Dad said. Just wait a minute, let's think about this. Think about what? There's a human skull on our porch. Someone died, someone's family. Karen, look at it, really look. Dad knelt down carefully, not touching the skull, but examining it closely. This bone is old. Look at the weathering, the discoloration. This person died decades ago, maybe longer. That doesn't matter. It's still human remains. We have to report it. And say what? Dad looked up at her. That a Sasquatch we've been feeding for 2 months left it as a thank you gift? Luke was pale, staring at the skull. Did it kill someone? No, Dad said firmly. Look, there's no trauma, no cracks or breaks except age-related deterioration, no signs of violence. This person died of natural causes a very long time ago. How can you tell? I asked. Because I've seen old bones before, hunting, finding deer skeletons in the woods. This skull has been somewhere dry and protected for years, decades. The bone wouldn't be this preserved if it had been exposed to weather. So where did it come from? Mom asked. Dad stood up, looked toward the forest. My guess, there's a cave out there, or a hollow tree, somewhere dry. Someone died in the forest years ago, got lost, had a heart attack, hypothermia, something, Animals scattered most of the remains, but the skull ended up somewhere protected, and our creature found it, kept it, valued it. Why would it value a skull? Luke asked. Because it's intelligent enough to recognize its own kind, and maybe ours too. Maybe it understands that human remains are significant, sacred even, and it kept this skull because it was the most valuable thing it possessed. And now it's given it to us, I said quietly, as thank you for saving its life. Mom was shaking her head. This is insane. We can't just keep a human skull. That was a person. They deserve a proper burial. Their family deserves to know what happened to them. Their family is probably dead too, Dad said gently. Look at this bone, Karen. This person died 50, maybe 70 years ago. Anyone who knew them, who would remember them, they're gone too. That doesn't give us the right to... No, it doesn't. You're right. But we have to weigh two things here. Dad looked at all of us. That skull represents a person who died decades ago. We can report it to authorities, trigger an investigation, give this person an official burial. That's one option. Or, Mom asked, or we recognize what this gift means. That creature gave us its most precious possession. It trusted us enough to share something it valued highly. And if we call the police, if we report this, what happens? Authorities come. They take the skull. They ask questions. How did we find it? Where exactly? And eventually the truth comes out. We've been sheltering an unknown creature. We've been feeding it. We've kept it secret. So what? We helped an injured animal. An injured cryptid. An unknown species that science says doesn't exist. Karen, you know what happens. Federal agents get involved. Our property gets searched. The creature gets hunted. And we get investigated for obstruction, for hiding evidence, for who knows what else. Luke spoke up. Dad's right. If we report the skull, everything comes out. And that thing, that creature that we saved, it gets captured or killed. That's what happens. Mom was crying now, frustrated, conflicted. So we just, what? Keep it? Bury it ourselves? Pretend we never saw it? We bury it, Dad said, with respect, with dignity. We give this person peace. We just do it privately. That's illegal, probably, but it's the right thing to do for this person and for the creature that trusted us. We stood there in silence. The morning sun was coming up, casting long shadows across the porch. The skull sat there, ancient and patient, waiting for us to decide its fate. I don't like this, Mom said finally, but I don't see another option. If we report it, that creature dies. And you're right, it saved itself by trusting us. We owe it protection. So we're agreed? Dad asked. We all nodded. Even Mom reluctantly. Okay, Dad said. We do this carefully, respectfully, and we never speak about it outside this family. Ever. That afternoon, we buried the skull. Dad chose a spot on our property under a large pine tree near the creek. Peaceful, beautiful, the kind of place anyone would want to rest. He dug the hole himself, deep and proper. Luke helped. Mom and I gathered smooth stones to mark the spot. When the hole was ready, Dad wrapped the skull in a clean white cloth, placed it gently at the bottom. We stood around the grave, the four of us, and Dad spoke. We don't know who you were. We don't know your name, your story, how you came to be in these woods, but you were a person. You lived, you mattered, and now we're giving you rest, peace, a proper burial, even if it's not the one your family would have given you. Mom added, whoever you were, wherever your family is now, we hope they found peace too. We hope they weren't left wondering forever. I put flowers on the grave, wildflowers from the property. Then we filled it in, covered it with earth, placed the stones in a circle around the spot. It took an hour. When we were done, you couldn't tell what was buried there. Just a peaceful spot under a tree, marked with stones that might mean nothing to anyone else. But we knew. We'd know forever. We walked back to the house in silence. Dad washed his hands. We all stood in the kitchen processing what we'd just done. We hid human remains, Mom said quietly. We broke the law. If anyone ever finds out, they won't, Dad said, because we're never telling anyone. This secret stays in this family. What about the fish? Luke asked. It left fish too. We moved them to the kitchen. 12 beautiful trout, perfectly cleaned. We honor that part of the gift too, Dad said. We eat them. We don't waste what it gave us. That night, we had fish for dinner. It felt strange, sacred somehow. We were eating food given to us by something that shouldn't exist as payment for saving its life, along with the skull of someone who died decades ago. Do you think it knew, I asked, that giving us a human skull would be complicated? No, Dad said. I don't think it understood that at all. I think it gave us what it thought was valuable, what it would want if the situation were reversed. It saw us as its kind, thinking beings, intelligent, worthy of respect, so it gave us something from our species, something precious. It meant well, Luke said. It meant very well. It just didn't understand our laws, our customs, our relationship with our own dead. It gave us a gift that, in its culture, probably represents the highest honor. And we accepted it, Mom said, and now we live with that choice. The next morning, I woke up early and went to my window, looked out at the shed, at the tree line, at the places the creature used to be. I saw it just for a moment, standing at the very edge of the forest where our property met the wild, watching the house. I waved. It didn't wave back this time, just stood there. Then it turned and walked into the trees and disappeared. That was the last time I saw it clearly for a while, but I knew it hadn't really left. It was out there, watching, remembering. The days after the burial were strange. We went through normal routines, school, work, meals, but nothing felt normal. We'd crossed a line, made a choice that couldn't be unmade. Do you regret it? I asked my dad one evening while we were alone. Regret what? Helping the creature? Keeping the skull, not reporting it. He thought about it for a long time. No, I don't regret it. That creature was dying. We saved it. It wanted to thank us the only way it knew how, and I chose to honor that gratitude over following a law that, in this specific situation, would have caused more harm than good. But someone's family would never know anyway. That person died decades ago in a forest. They were already lost. We just gave them a different kind of rest, a respectful one. I can live with that. What if we're wrong? What if we should have reported it? Then we're wrong, and I'll carry that. But I'd rather be wrong about this than responsible for what would have happened to that creature if authorities had gotten involved. Over the following weeks, I started seeing the creature again. Not up close, but in the distance. Always at dusk, always at the tree line, just standing there, watching. I'd wave. Sometimes I swear it would raise its hand slightly in return. Then it would disappear back into the forest. It's checking on us, Luke said one night when we both saw it. Or it's lonely, I suggested. Well, maybe it's the only one around here, and we're the closest thing it has to, I don't know, friends? Friends with a Sasquatch. That's not something you hear every day. But that's what it felt like we'd formed a bond, an impossible friendship between species, built on kindness during vulnerability and sealed with a gift we couldn't refuse. The grave under the pine tree became a place I'd visit sometimes. I'd leave flowers, sit there for a while, wonder about the person buried there. Who were they? When did they die? Did they have a family that searched for them? Did anyone mourn them? Or did they disappear without anyone noticing? I like to think that our creature had given them dignity, had kept their skull safe for years, treating it as valuable, as worthy of protection, and then had passed that responsibility to us. We were the keepers now, the guardians of someone's final rest. It was a heavy thing for a 9-year-old to carry. But somehow I managed it. Years passed. 2017 became 2018, then 2019, 2020, 2021. Life continued. Luke went to college. I grew from a child to a teenager. Mom and Dad got older, grayer, but our secret remained. The skull buried under the pine tree, the creature in the forest, the gift that had bound us together, and through it all, I kept seeing it. Once a month, maybe, sometimes more, always at a distance, always watching. It never forgot us, and we never forgot it. It's 2025 now. 8 years since that winter when we saved a dying creature, and it gave us a gift we couldn't return. I'm 17. In a few months, I'll graduate high school. Next year, I'll go to college, leave this property where everything happened, leave the forest where something impossible still watches. And before I go, I need to tell this story. Need to share what we experienced, what we learned, what we're still learning. Because this isn't just a story about finding Bigfoot. It's a story about connection, about choices, about the weight of secrets, and the value of trust. The creature still visits. Not as often as it did those first few years, but regularly. Maybe once a month, I'll see it at the tree line at dusk, just standing there, watching the house, watching us. I always wave. Sometimes I think it waves back. A subtle movement, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. Then it turns and disappears into the forest. My dad thinks it's lonely. "It's probably the only one in this region," he said once. "These creatures are rare, endangered. It might go weeks without seeing another of its kind. So it comes here, to the place where it was helped, where it felt safe." "Do you think it remembers?" I asked. "Really remembers what we did?" "That I know it does. 8 years, Emily. 8 years it's been visiting. That's not instinct, that's memory, that's loyalty, that's gratitude that doesn't fade." The gifts stopped after that first one, the skull and the fish, but occasionally we'll find things. A stack of firewood by the shed. Fish left near the creek. Once, a perfect eagle feather placed on our porch railing. Small offerings, reminders that we're not forgotten. I still visit the burial site, the grave under the pine tree. I've been doing it for 8 years. Leave flowers when I can. Sit there sometimes and think about the person buried there. I did research, tried to find out who might have disappeared in this region in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. There were cases, hikers who never came home, hunters who got lost, people who vanished into the wilderness without a trace. Could be any of them, or none of them. I'll never know, but whoever they are, they're at peace now, in a beautiful spot under a tree near a creek, honored by a creature that valued their remains enough to keep them safe for decades, and finally laid to rest by a family that chose protection over protocol. My mom still struggles with it sometimes. I'll see her looking at the burial spot with this expression, guilt mixed with resignation. "You did the right thing," I tell her whenever I catch that look. Did I? Or did I just choose the path that felt easier? You chose the path that protected something rare, something that trusted us. That's not easy. That's brave. She never looks convinced, but she's never reported it either. The secret has held for 8 years. Luke is in college now, studying environmental science. He wants to work in conservation, protect wilderness, areas, endangered species, ecosystems. Because of what we experienced, he told me last Christmas when he was home. Because I know now that there are things out there we don't understand, things that deserve protection even if, especially if, the world doesn't know they exist. He still sees the creature sometimes when he's home, still waves, still talks about it in that odd voice like he can't quite believe it's real even after 8 years. Dad has changed the most. He used to be practical, logical, skeptical. Now he talks about mystery and humility and the limits of human knowledge. "We think we've mapped everything," he said recently, "cataloged every species, explored every corner of wilderness, but we haven't. There are still mysteries, still unknowns, and some of them are walking around in our own backyard, literally." He's become protective of the forest, aggressive about posting our property, keeping people out. He says it's for privacy, but I know it's really about protecting the creature, making sure our land stays a safe space where it can visit without being seen by strangers. After I saw the creature that first time 8 years ago, I started reading everything I could about Sasquatch. Indigenous accounts, sighting reports, scientific theories. What I learned changed how I see the world. These beings aren't random animals, they're cultural. They use tools, they have languages, structured vocalizations that convey meaning. They bury their dead, they create art, they understand reciprocity and gift giving. Everything we did with our creature, the food exchange, the gifts, the mutual respect, that's all documented behavior in Sasquatch accounts going back centuries. Indigenous peoples have known about them forever, called them different names, treated them as people, not animals, warned outsiders to respect them, avoid their territories, never harm them. But we didn't listen. We called it folklore, myth, superstition. And now these beings are endangered, possibly on the brink of extinction, not because of habitat loss or climate change, but because of us, because we hunt them, expose them, turn them into spectacles. Our creature is one of the survivors, still here after 8 years, still visiting, still trusting us enough to show itself. That trust is sacred. And it's why I'm telling this story the way I am, with enough detail to be believed, but not enough to be traced. No specific location, no identifying details, no way for someone to use this story to find our creature and harm it. Some people will say, I'm lying, that this is fiction, fantasy, impossible. That's fine. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just honoring what we experienced. Sharing what we learned, that intelligence comes in forms we don't expect, that consciousness isn't uniquely human, that gift giving and gratitude exist across species boundaries, that a creature we saved gave us its most precious possession, a human skull it had protected for decades as a thank you, and that we chose to bury that skull quietly rather than report it, because protecting our creature mattered more than following the law. I'll carry that choice forever, the weight of it, the responsibility. Every time I visit that grave, I'm reminded someone is buried there who deserved better, who deserved to be found by authorities, identified, returned to family, but we took that possibility away to protect something else. Something we decided was more important. Was that right? I don't know. I'm 17. I don't have answers to moral questions that complicated, but I know this. If I had to make the choice again, I'd make the same one. Because that creature isn't just a specimen or a discovery or proof of the impossible. It's a being, a person in its own way, and it deserved protection more than we deserve credit for finding a skull. Last week, I saw it again, closer than usual, maybe 20 yards from the house, standing in our backyard at dusk. I went outside, walked onto the porch. We looked at each other for a long time. It's aged. I can see that now. Its fur is grayer. It moves more slowly. 8 years is a long time. I don't know how long these creatures live, but I think ours is old, maybe very old. Thank you, I said out loud, for trusting us, for letting us help you, for the gift, even though it was complicated, for being part of our lives. It made a sound, low, soft rumbling, not aggressive, almost gentle. Then it raised one hand. Slowly, deliberately, a wave, a gesture of acknowledgement. I waved back, crying. It watched me for another moment, then turned and walked toward the forest, disappeared into the trees. I stood there until it was fully dark, wondering if that was goodbye. Really goodbye, if I'd just seen it for the last time before I leave for college. I hope not. I hope it lives for many more years, visits many more times, continues to exist in these forests, unknown to the wider world, protected by our silence. But if that was our last meeting, I'm grateful. For all of it. The fear and wonder of that first day, the months of feeding and watching, the impossible gift, the years of distant waves and mutual acknowledgement. This creature taught me more than school ever could, about intelligence that exists outside human understanding, about communication that doesn't require words, about relationships that transcend species, about the responsibility that comes with knowledge, and the courage it takes to protect something precious by keeping it secret. In a year, I'll leave this property, go to college, build a life somewhere else. But I'll carry this story with me forever, and I'll keep the secret. Even when I'm tempted to tell friends, to share in more detail, to prove what happened, I'll remember that creature standing at the tree line, remember the trust in its eyes, remember the gift it gave us because it thought we were worthy. I won't betray that trust. My parents will stay here. Luke will visit on breaks. Our family will continue to be guardians of the burial site, of the secret, of the creature that still watches from the forest. And maybe someday, decades from now, when I'm old and the creature is long gone, maybe then I'll share more. Give the location. Let someone verify the burial. Let that person finally be identified and properly recognized. But not now. Not while our creature still lives. Not while the trust still holds. Some gifts are too precious to exploit. Some secrets are more valuable than truth. This is one of them. My name is Emily Patterson. 8 years ago, my family saved a dying Sasquatch. It gave us a human skull as thanks. We buried it quietly and never told authorities. We made that choice because we believed and still believe that protecting something rare matters more than proving something impossible. I'm telling you this story not to convince you it's real, but to share what we learned, that the world is stranger than we know, that intelligence takes forms we don't recognize, that trust can exist between beings who can't speak the same language, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do with knowledge is protect it, not exploit it, not prove it, protect it. Our creature is still out there, still watching, still remembering the winter we saved its life. And we're still here, still keeping it secret, still honoring the gift it gave us, complicated as it was. That's the story. That's the truth. And that's all I can share. If you see something in the forest, something impossible, something that watches from the shadows, I have one request. Let it be. Don't chase it. Don't photograph it. Don't try to prove it exists. Just acknowledge it, respect it, and walk away, because these beings have survived this long by staying hidden, by trusting very few, by existing in the spaces between what we know and what we're willing to believe. Our creature trusted us, gave us 8 years of its presence, shared its most valued possession, taught us things we'll carry forever. I won't betray that trust by exposing it, and I hope, if you ever have a similar experience, you won't either. Some mysteries deserve to stay mysteries. Some beings deserve to stay hidden. Some gifts are too sacred to return. This is ours, and we're keeping it forever. Thank you for listening. Thank you for respecting what I can't share. Thank you for understanding why some truths must remain protected. And to our creature, wherever you are, thank you for everything, for the gift, for the trust, for showing us that the impossible is real and the world is more beautiful than we ever imagined. I'll carry you with me always, in memory, in gratitude, in silence.